Hey folks, welcome back. Took a break. I decided to let them have their last Christmas without spoiling it too much. Same with my friends, by the way. My own personal life. And I'm really angry at the PR firms now. I realize how much murdering they're committing. They're murderers. In order to take that job, you have to have the IQ of a fly, or you're a murderer, one or the other. And a lot of people think because someone's got a degree that they got merit, but you have to earn merit. And PR firms don't earn merit. They earn their money by manipulating and deceiving and obfuscating the facts. In this case, it's a deadly job. They're murdering people by doing that. And so we really got to go after them, because their comments never go away. Unless you put them on my site, then they disappear. But that's because I know you're a murderer, and I don't want you to murder the people that are coming to my videos trying to figure out the truth that you're deceiving and denying them of. And when, like I made that video yesterday about how does radiation delude? And I know it's an obscene title, but you had to put it out there that way just to make sure everybody has a fair shot at understanding it. And this is outrageous murder they're committing. Pure and simple, where they come in and they say that the background radiation is like a banana. I mean, even the pundits and the TV hosts will do that too. But the ones that are in the comment section, TEPCO paid over $12 million to an internet firm or monitoring firm, a PR firm, just to monitor Twitter and Facebook. And that was just for a short period. So you can imagine how much money they're dumping into that. Just loading and going with the money to deceive people, to murder people on purpose, to keep the lie alive as long as they can. And then what's the plan? You got nowhere to run to. You destroyed the planet at this stage already. And we know this is rather amazing that the Americans, and I guess the Canadians too, decided not to tell the population they were breathing in 10 hot particles a day because of national security. That's why they done it. That's why no one got told. And so that took all the responsibility away from the local, state, and federal departments that are supposed to be monitoring this and informing the population. They were taken out of the know because it was all declared a classified secret. So some of our bureaucrats have decided that it was too important. Our very own government, 100%, has decided that it was too important. It was a state secret. The terrorists would figure it out and take advantage of it, I guess. And that's not that. I'm not going to say that has to change. I'm going to say that ends. That truly ends. Because that's going to come out, like it is here now. That our government made it a state secret not to tell the population. And I'll be fucked if they're getting away with that. Excuse me. You don't get to hide behind the word state secret about the genocide you committed with that signature on a piece of paper. That's a psychopath. I'd rather have the serial killer with the knife in his hand than the psychopath like that who destroys millions with the stroke of a pen. I desperately want to know who done that, who made that decision, and we're going to find out. They're not getting away with that. I'm not digressing away from the fact that we're going to have war crimes, a war against humanity, crimes against humanity for the PR firms for out there lying. It's unbelievable they're allowed to operate. It's unbelievable that people like that actually exist on Earth. It's really, truly, to me, it's inconceivable. But it's conceivable, obviously. But it's inconceivable that people grew up in a neighborhood like me, like here in Canada, and went and got a job for a PR firm. This is what they do all day. And they go home and tell their friends how big their paychecks are, and they drive around in their cars, and they have their big screen TVs and everything else, because they're out there murdering people. I mean, my goodness. What kind of society, what kind of people could do that job? What kind of psychopathic? You'd be surprised. And they justify it because someone paid them to do it. They think it's okay to be out there murdering people in the comments section, and that video will be out there for years, and people will read those comments many times. And they're murdering people every single time by trying that and doing that and succeeding in getting away with that. And then they lied so much about the fact that, they keep equating background radiation of potatoes or bananas or rocks or walking, when that has been here long before the human experience started. And it has nothing to do with the radiation that will kill you, the buckyballs, the hot particle. Just one of them will do you in. And you can't get rid of it. It sequesters in your lungs and in your organs. And to me, every single day, this gets even worse. Gets even more scarier. But today in particular, I'm focused on, again, the PR firms that are murdering people. They're murderers. That's what they're doing out here. It's unbelievable. I don't imagine they showed up here tonight. The last time they showed up, I think there was 500 comments stomping their heads into the ground. You guys are unbelievable. So they come here to attack me, and then everybody slams the shit out of them, and they can't even operate anymore. They start attacking the people that are commenting instead of attacking me. But it's quite obvious what they're up to. They're making stuff up out of the handbook of lies to sell it for a paycheck. It's the lowest form of life. But that's the good thing in a sense, is that we got that IP address. Because when they leave a comment, they're leaving their IP address behind. And so we can definitely get all of these. I mean, these people are not the players that we really want, but that's traced back to the corporations and the companies. And then the people that are funding them, they should be into war crimes. And they will be. I mean, that's what we want. That's what we need just to start the process. And I know some people are out there, the experts are saying that we can hire the same old companies to go in there and clean it up. It's not like that. That's the good old boys' school routine. We got to get thousands and thousands of institutions around this planet working around the clock, producing academic peer-reviewed studies on how to deal with this. And you remember the picture on this video, it's 45-gallon drums that are rusted. And see, when they said they were going to start up all this nuclear business, they said they were going to put the waste in sarcophagus. A 45-gallon drum is not a sarcophagus. It never was. And then they dump it into the ocean. And so we retroactively got to clean up everything that's been spilled in the next, if we got the time, if the storms like the Philippines don't come in and wipe us all out, like it happened to the Philippines. As the ocean gets more intense, and they're talking about 4% coming to our coastline. 4%! As if April and May of 2011, everybody walking to school every day, or walking on the streets, or getting out of their cars, and breathing air. Everybody ingested at least 10 a day, if not 400 or 500 a day, or 4,000 or 5,000. It's inconceivable. And these are the buckyballs, like dust, where they just float around. You know how dust floats around when the sun shines through your house. Even though your house is spotless, there's no dust anywhere, you can still see the dust. Well, these microparticles, they're 1/10,000th of a millionth of a meter. And so they're a lot smaller than your DNA. And that's what we talk about when we talk about buckyballs. And there's a link below to that stuff, to a peer-reviewed study again about it. But there's headlines going all the way back into 2011 about this phenomenon of when they sprayed salt water. And the numbers they used, hang on, because I got two folders here. That's not the one, this one here. 925 quadrillion, that's what an hour, that's 1,000 million. becquerels. That's per second, every second now, till the end of time. 900, just this one release. Just hang on. Because I know this is, to me, so important. 925 quadrillion becquerels of contaminated water. And TEPCO has, this was November 23rd, 2013. And TEPCO has no idea where the fuel is. Now this came out in the first few months after 3/11. This is what they sprayed, the salt water they sprayed up on a 925, and it washed out the estimated 925 quadrillion. I got a little bit loud. I'm not sure what that was all about. I'm not going to worry about it. 925 quadrillion, thousand million becquerels of that alone every second, each second in the ocean. This is energy. And you think about energy when it comes to nuclear, but how fast is the molecules moving? How much energy is there is a better way to think about it, because it's not like heat, but the gammas and the betas are moving at 270,000 kilometers hour. That's energy, right? Like a gun might be 900 feet a second. We're talking 270,000 kilometers an hour is or a second is unbelievable speeds that's ejected out. That's like, the stuff shooting off the sun in one sense. And so that's energy. That's different than heat. That's much, 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 much different than heat. Inconceivably different than heat. And it does this non-stop, just non-stop till the end of time, popping out this energy, which is different than heat. And that's what made the typhoon so powerful in the Philippines. They converged, remember, the Francisca and the other one converged on Tokyo in Japan, rather. And then they came together and they picked up all that isotope and all the radiated water that was in front of them and brought it and went down and slammed into the Philippines. And like I done that other video to really put that one to rest, because that's going to come everywhere else on top of that. And these people are just going to be victims till the end of time. They can't continue to live there. The next one that comes there, there's no shelter for them to hide behind this time. Getting hit with 200 miles an hour winds for 4 hours. And an F4 tornado up to that point would only last at best 6 minutes and maybe be a quarter mile wide. It lasted 4 hours and was over 100 miles wide and took out 44 provinces. It's unbelievable that happened on this planet. That shouldn't exist on this planet. Certainly not at that scale. Except for in a little short-run hurricane. The Fukushima ocean plume hit Canada 6 months ago, and the PR firms are saying that it's okay, go back to sleep, it's just like the background radiation of a banana. Yet people, this is admitted back in May, that there was people were ingesting 10 particles, hot particles, the buckyballs, a day every day. And yet the PR firms are out here right now saying this is not true and making up stuff because they think everybody's stupid and ignorant. And that's murder. That's 100% murder is what they're doing to us. Because we already got the information has been released that this has taken place, that there is truly 3 melted reactors. And that Chernobyl was only 1/3 the size of the reactors at Fukushima. And so, without anything else, you had 9 times worse than the Fukushima release. And there was 1 million people mobilized to go to work on Chernobyl, where people weren't allowed to work 15 or 20 seconds and they went home. But in Fukushima, the monsters are taking the homeless and the disabled and the mentally impaired and putting them in there and keeping them there for months when they should only be there for 15 or 20 seconds, like Chernobyl. And then they don't even give them a full check. They kick them loose and they got no medical or no health, no moral support. They're not going to get no medals like they did at Chernobyl. Not that that matters, but it's recognition that they're sick and they're infirm because they gave it their all. But these people didn't even know. And the PR firms are out there destroying them at the same time, murdering them, making sure they die a horrible death at the same time by keeping this, trying to keep the lie. They're trying to keep the lie alive, even though the information now is staggering. It's unimaginable. Thousands and thousands of headlines over the last 3 years, and buries them on their heads, but they're still at it every day, all day, every day, relentlessly, trying to keep the lie alive. And that's murder, and I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it now. Every time I see their comments and their lies about bananas and candles in the ocean, they're really scared that we work that out, that the radiation makes the storm stronger, because the radiation is much different than a warmer ocean, even though the ocean is getting warmer because of all that radiation. Don't get me wrong, that's true. But the radiation is pure energy. It's so pure. It never stops. It's like a battery that is always at full charge. It's unbelievable. But except it gets more charged, it gets more enhanced every day because there's so much going into the ocean every day. And with all these murdering PR firms out there lying, how can we ever get started? You know, this is a meteorite that's coming at us, and it's going to take out a large portion of the planet in a bad way, in a real bad way. Unless we do something, we organize and we learn to accept it as it is and then try to deal with it. Because if you got a meteorite coming with us and everybody's like, it's not going to hit us. Don't worry about it, it's not going to hit you. Imagine if that goes on every day, all day, and you're looking at it and you say, but the meteorite is coming at us. And they're like, don't worry about it, it's not going to hit, it's going to go right on past us. TV told us. But they know that it's going to hit us, but because TV told them, it's like a banana, don't worry. That fills up the whole sky, but it's going to bust up and it'll be just a little light show in the sky, not going to hurt you. Meanwhile, they're all going on vacation to get in their bunkers, and they say, well, we're going to start rock watching, or whatever you want to call it. It's outright murder that this is happening to us at a rate that is happening to us. And I wouldn't even have to exist if PR firms weren't out there lying. The lobbyists, are paying the PR firms, the nuclear lobbyists. These people shouldn't exist. They're supposed to have charters, not human rights, and that's why the lobbyists exist. A lobbyist under a charter is illegal. They should be in jail, every one of them. They will be. They're not allowed to operate. At some point, the lid is going to come off of this, and it's not going to be that long before the lid comes off of this, I can assure you. Because you're going to wake up this entire planet in a bad way. And so people are going to be looking for revenge in a bad way. If you wake it up in a good way, you can blame it on Al-Qaeda, or whatever, the ghost and the machine. But at least get started to work on this. That can never happen as long as we got the PR firms out there supplying the pundits, supplying the media, supplying the colleges and the universities with fundings. These are the creatures from hell, the PR firms. The nuclear lobbyists are one and the same. And they shouldn't exist. It's illegal to be a lobbyist under the bills, under the constitutions, under the Magna Cartas. The only reason we have lobbyists is because corporations illegally have human rights. And so it's either a riot in the streets, or you get rid of the human rights of the corporations immediately. And that can be done because it's an illegal amendment. It's an illegal amendment to the slavery law, which was meant to free the slaves from an oppressive government, and is being used by corporations to oppress a sovereign people. And these corporations are supposed to be under a charter. And under a charter, when they're doing stuff like this, you can cannibalize the company and use it to pay restoration, fix the damages, and you can incarcerate these people. And, there is some senators out there trying to take away the human rights of corporations, but because they got human rights, they can put their money in offshore accounts and buy lobbyists because they're not paying taxes in your state or your communities. But these big corporations, they put all the little shops in your communities, except for some of the hanger-oners, out of business in a hurry. And then all the money is buy plastic and it's all shipped out of your community immediately, and there's no money floating around in your community. They don't pay taxes because they have human rights, and they put their money in offshore accounts. So the system, is cannibalizing you. And you can change all of this in a short way because the amendment to give corporations human rights is illegal. It's illegal. And if one single person out there had a lot of money, he can go get a lawyer tomorrow, and they can actually challenge that. File it in court and challenge it right away. And you could actually knock their feet out underneath them. Because what they got is an illegal amendment to the Constitution. And the point is that it's either got to go that way, or it's going to be a fight in the streets. It's going to be panic around the planet. And you can understand that, what they got done to us and the corners they're pushing us into, because the PR firms, the monsters, the murderers, the mass murderers, the hideous, endless murderers, these creatures, these are monsters, true monsters living among us, living in our communities. Can you imagine having a PR representative for the nuclear industry living next door to you or on your street? That's scary stuff, okay? I'd rather have Ted Bundy on my street any day than a nuclear lobbyist or PR firms. These are the monsters of society, and they're hiding. They look like me and they look like you, but these are actually monsters. They're murdering people all day. Did I say that enough times? Did I shit on their heads enough times? I like to string a rope around their neck and throw it over a pole and feel them. Legally, of course. Feel them, the life just kicking at them. And the judge said, Danny, would you want to hang on to that rope? And I said, yes, Your Honor. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. May I have another? They deserve it. They're murderers. And Japan has enacted a state secret law to stop us from having these war crimes. That's not going to help them, okay? They're a democratic democracy. And so, I'm not joking when I say this stuff. This is not a joke, by the way. That we got to prosecute these people immediately. I'm sick of playing the games anymore. I'm sick of the murdering that I see every day in the comment sections and all the blogs out there. All the media, all the pundits that are lying and equating the background radiation from uranium-234 and uranium-235 with a banana, or equating the background radiation of strontium-90 with the background radiation of a potato, or equating the radiation from plutonium-90, 239, and 238 with the background radiation of the rocks. And the xeons, and it's, with background radiation of just sitting in your house or eating your food, because that's generic. That can't hurt you. You can sit in your house all day. It's not going to give you cancer, depending on what you got in your house, of course, but the radiation is not going to give you cancer. But if you get one isotope of that stuff, it's going to give you cancer. And a real bad cancer too, because this is a hot particle. This is a high production particle. And if it's got a uranium in the core, it's going to last 4.5 billion years. And they cremate you, they liberate the isotope. You can't shut it off. It's so deadly. And then when you had all of these particles that got blasted all over the site from the pools, they're X-rays and neutrons, they're splitting atoms, they're throwing out the isotopes at phenomenal rates. Till the end of time. We're talking about MOX fuel that's 2 million times worse than any other reactor on the planet. So it's like having 2 million reactors hemorrhaging into the ocean. That's why we've seen the storm in the Philippines. Because when you talk about the numbers, that's why I done that video about the numbers. And let me bring that up. Nowhere to run, hot radioactive particles in Seattle. 50% of the levels seen in Tokyo, that latches onto the lung tissue. That's those buckyballs. You're breathing in. Just one of those is going to give you cancer. What's 10 a day going to do to you? Huh? What is 10 a day going to do to you if one is going to give you cancer? And once it's into you, you got a hell of a time dealing with it. You got to get all the nutritions in your body that you can possibly ever get in your body. That's why I always tell you about the dandelion, how it got every nutrient and every mineral in the body. That's why I tell you about the DCA, and that's why I always have that link below, because I know for sure, I've been following it for years, that reduces all tumors by 70%. That's survival. You might not get rid of those tumors, but if you can reduce them down to nothing, then that's manageable. You can live a normal life without misery and agony and having to liquidate all your assets. So I have to do the things I do every day and shoot these as many times as I can and put them out there. And like that video I done yesterday is only 3.5 minutes long, but it's around 8 hours to do 115 pictures and to blend them together, do the audio and write everything down. And so this only takes me an hour. I sit here, I click the button, then I click the button at the end of an hour and it's all finished. And I don't got to do nothing for 7 hours, just listen to lectures. But I have to make the other videos sometimes too, and that's an enormous amount of energy to get that out of you. Because you can imagine, you got to hunt down all of these pictures. You got to make it interesting. You got to make it lucid. Try to anyway. And you got to get your, all I'm trying to do is put out what I see as a travesty where the PR firms are equating, diluting, that the ocean dilutes it. All the ocean does is spread it out, makes it even more worse, more encompassing, till it ultimately fills up the ocean. There's no oxygen left behind. There's no oxygen left behind. This stuff leaves no oxygen behind, and it takes a few years maybe for it to work its magic, its hellish magic. But if you took one of those isotopes the ocean is full of, and you put it in a beaker of ocean water that normally would have trillions of little animals into it, then that isotope will cook all of those things. It'll cook them. The water's not going to boil, but there's at 270,000 kilometers an hour energy that is constantly flying out of this. 270 miles an hour, your eyes would leave the back of your head. And these isotopes will put that energy out for billions of years. And so it will kill everything. That single isotope will kill everything in that beaker in no time at all. You can put that isotope in a 5-gallon bucket, it'll kill everything in that bucket in no time at all. You can put it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and it'll kill all, if it was full of marine life, the microscopic marine life, that is the very foundation of the ocean. The environment can't survive it. Like my buddy here, his partner is a marine biologist, 25 years, and so he had done a thesis on habitats, and the most important part about the habitat was the microorganisms, right? So the whole habitat had to be perforated with the smallest possible types of holes, also with all the other sizes for animals living. But the animals couldn't habitually stay there unless there was a microorganism living there too. They just can't exist without the other one. And so that's the very foundation of the ocean, is what I seen commercial diving for 14 years. It was, you could pick up a rock and there was creatures all around that rock. And that rock had thousands of years of genetic selection, superior genetic selection. And these were, a lot of these creatures never had a 6-month lifespan, but they would live in that rock. And that rock was its own little world. And it's a fascinating thing. And you'll see all kinds of creatures all over that rock. And we used to do that all the time. Excuse me. So nowhere to run. Hot radioactive particles in Seattle at 50% of the level seen in Tokyo. Published on June 8, 2011. Hot radioactive particles in Seattle. And the PR firms are out there saying, it's just like the background radiation of a banana. That's murder. That's outrageous murder. Why would they say stuff like that? Why would they say, it's like that? Why should they care what you're saying? Unless they're trying to marginalize what you're saying. And they've been attacking me constantly about the Philippines. And I understood what that was going to happen. Because as I thought that out, I realized, holy, that's the Philippines got wrecked because of the radiation in that ocean. That ocean is pure energy. It's like a battery. If that ocean was boiling from just heat, it still wouldn't create these types of storms that are 100 miles wide. It done that because it picked up all the moisture in these typhoons. They're full of moisture. And if you look up the global warming movies since late 2011, you'll see all the postulations of superstorms. There's probably 8 or 9. And they're all based up on that same principle. So they were indoctrinating people in a hurry with really shitty movies with really terrible graphics in order to get them acclimated as quick as they can to these events that would happen. And so that's why if you go to Wikipedia right now, you'll see the Philippines says, oh, the top speeds was 155 miles an hour. Outrageous lie, see? They're in on Wikipedia manipulating it. And there's another peer review study coming out September 21st. Observations of fallout from Fukushima reactor accident, San Francisco Bay Area rainwater. And that was September. They had found those isotopes, but Professor Fukushima's horrifying radiation will be entering the Pacific for decades, and there's no end in sight. And so all that energy going out into the Pacific Ocean every day, they emit 400 tons, but they're not talking about the aquifers underneath it. They're not talking about all the, they're talking about the water they spray on it. They're not talking about all the rain. They're not talking about all the snow that are liberating all those isotopes all over that country and moving that all over the country. And also it gets picked up in the weather. It gets picked up through evaporation anyway. But it also gets washed through the storm drains into the water aquifers of that country. And so that whole country is actually under siege from its government right now. Not only the state secret law, they closed down the internet on October 25th, right, 2013. And that was after a 7.5 earthquake, and no one's ever got a picture of what happened at Japan. But you got to realize all that rain and all that snow and all those typhoons, and they have a lot of typhoons. Which city is going to be next to get wiped out now, or country is going to be next to get wiped out after the Philippines? When we know that typhoon went right on down to Vietnam, done some serious damage, as if they haven't suffered enough already from 9 years of chemtrailing their skies with Agent Orange, with toxins, with a dioxin that's banned all over this planet right now, and some serious hellish things going on. And the PR firms are out there saying and lying and manipulating Wikipedia and everything else to hide this stuff. These are the monsters of our society. Like I say, you would never want one of these people living next door to you. You would never leave a child alone with a PR firm employee. That's child abuse if you would do something like that. And I'm going to come over to the comment section because I just rattled on for who knows how long. 32 minutes? I could have went for another 5 minutes. And the typhoon spreads, Fukushima fallout study. That's a study. Typhoons spread, and that was November 28, 2013. November 28, 2013, last month. Say a month, just about a month ago now, 4 weeks ago. A peer-reviewed academic study came out that showed typhoons were spreading the Fukushima fallout. So just to back up what I'm telling you all along anyway, that was a study that I keep forgetting to mention to you folks. But a study warns that the typhoon is picking up all the radiation. No shit, Batman. And once again, before I come over to the comment section, unprecedented phenomenon from using salt water in Fukushima reactor, spraying the salt water on the reactors, forming new uranium compounds. Notice how they say that, uranium compounds. That means you got a 4.5 billion half-life. And then that dissolves to 234, is it? From 235. And then that's got a half-life of 2.25 billion, what's left over. And then the new got a half-life of 4.5 billion because you changed it into the other radioactive isotope. So it's not really 4.5 billion years. Not that that matters. Not that we're going to be around here to find out if they're right or wrong. It's just that when you do the math, it's like 80 billion years down the road before it stops becoming radioactive and just becomes rayon or something. Right? So the law is even the iodine-131 breaks down 8 days later to iodine-132. And 132 is absorbed into your thyroid and radiates your thyroid 9 times more effectively than the 131. So it's sickening. And then that breaks down. So that's got like a 40-day lifespan, even though they always tell you it's got an 8-day lifespan. But because one breaks into another one, and another one breaks into another one, but the other one stays half, the other one stays there, even though the other half is they call it disintegrations, but it's actually turned into another radioisotope. So the law is seriously vicious and violent and meant to trick you by always saying the same thing, almost like a banana. Well, a banana doesn't have a half-life of radiation, see? An isotope like uranium-238, which is what's left over, the yellow cake, and there's a billion tons of that on the planet, that stuff is different again, because once you weaponize the isotope, once you weaponize the uranium or the plutonium or the strontium or the cesium, once you weaponize that and went through the process, and so you ended up with the 238 was what's left over. That's what they're putting in the bullets. They're flying, shooting all over the country. Like the A-10 Warthog fires out around 71 Nagasaki bombs, 1.5 tons of depleted uranium rounds, right? 30 millimeters. And then the bigger guns, it's just depleted uranium. That's all of fires. They're not tipped, they're not coated, they're solid 238, uranium-238. So it's 1.5 tons a minute. That's the equivalent of 71 Nagasaki bombs. The animosity equivalent of 71 Nagasaki bombs worth of radiation. Dirty bombs. They're dirty bombs. That's what they are. And, that's what the A-10 Warthog, that's all it does is fires dirty bombs. I know it's the gallows laugh, but every time they shoot, most of the soldiers, half of their bullets, even the ones that are walking, half of their bullets came from McAllister's bomb manufacturing facility in Oklahoma, McAllister, Oklahoma. That's all they make is depleted uranium rounds. 20 train car loads a day are coming out of the DRC, coming out of there, and on the slow boat to the 4 continents where they don't have much nuclear power, so they went in and sprayed it all with uranium. And they were firing 5.5 million rounds a month in Iraq to get to 11,000 Taliban. 5.5 million rounds a month to get 11,000 Taliban. Every month, year after year, in Iraq. There's 5 million orphans in Afghanistan, and a couple of million widows we know about. There's a couple of million missing in Iraq. There's 4 million in refugee camps. To get 11,000 Taliban. All that carnage was to get 11,000 Taliban that they still haven't got. I mean, they're like carbon buckyballs themselves, right? I come over to the comment section. And a very high concentration of hot particles in the Pacific Northwest during April and May. That included plutonium and amerinium with extraordinary half-lives. That was June the 29th, 2011. That was an interview with Caldecott and Gunderson. But yeah, that's quite the headline. 4.7 quadrillion becquerels, 7.76 trillion becquerels plutonium-239. 95% of Fukushima's discharge transported in the Pacific right to North America. 156 quadrillion becquerels of cesium-137. 220 million becquerels of cesium now in the spent fuel pools 1, 2, and 3. Serious damage to 300,000 becquerels per cubic meter of radioactive iodine deposited near Tokyo. So that means all the way to Tokyo and back. 400 kilometers away, 250 miles is 300,000 becquerels per square meter. And a worker might get 5 becquerels disintegrations a second. A becquerel is disintegration a second. So each of these numbers, that'll go on every day till the end of time. So each headline is a new addition. But this is every day. This is the odd. This is every day. That doesn't stop. So you add another trillions and quadrillions and quadzillions of becquerels each day, and these hot particles can produce their own isotopes on top of that. And so we're looking at a concoction that we have to deal with. We just can't hide away from that. The Neptunium-239. Nobody talks about the 5,000 nuke plant workers. 1 million becquerels per kilogram of cesium and the mysterious black substances. 15 quadrillion becquerels of radioactive substances suspected in the trenches at TEPCO. So the rain rains down in those trenches and washes it. These numbers will drop you. You don't get to walk away. That's how fast it can kill you. It's inconceivable that the PR firms were out there lying about all this when I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. The radiation skyrockets 3,500 times when just what it was already was considered skyrocket, but then the skyrocket is 3,500 times past that. The most fearsome thing on the planet is radiation, folks. And I keep saying I'm going to come over to the comment section. And what did I do? 40 minutes? Hi, Rush Jensen. Comfort Climate. Hi. Hi, Green Road Project. Hey, folks. Hi, Kate. Yelsey. Hi, Tom. Maker's looking. Oh, we got Miss Milky the Clown 1. I seen your video. You're worn out, I can tell. I think we all kind of guessed that in the last few weeks. You've been at this a long time, right? So, yeah, we're trying to keep the spirit alive for you, but you can't stop. You won't stop. You're not gonna give it up. You ain't going nowhere. You'll be back in 5 days flat. You'll be sitting home. I can't. You can't stop what you're doing. I know the difference. I know the difference. Besides the fact that you could stop if you wanted to, because you got so much on your side, and just go remix and start posting everything again and start from scratch. Because to go in and watch everything you got on your 2 sites, that's hard work. It's awesome. But just to make it is, I can't even imagine. It's just like so much time just to try to watch it. So how much time does it take to make it? Well, I know how much and how long. Hi, Elizabeth. How long it takes. Hi, Mickey. Mr. Mutt the Surf. I live in Rhode Island. What should you be doing? If you're under the jet stream, right, then you're in the worst spot possible. If the jet stream comes right over your head, or you're on the edge of the thick jet stream, that's a bad spot. The stuff is landing on you. And you have to learn to accept the reality and move on. And at some point in the near future, your property is going to lose all its value anyway. As this goes out, people won't buy it. I guess some people will buy it, but you won't get the monies that you put into it. And so that's a bit of an ethical thing too. How can you sell your property knowing that the people that are going to live there, could get radiated? That's because that's the reason you're leaving. So just, it raises. Yeah, I know Miss Milky's not going anywhere. She will. Yeah, she will. Hi, Dudley. And if you're living in like anywhere under the jet stream, you got to get out of the way. And if you're living on the Pacific coastline, within 500 miles of that coastline, my opinion is you got to get out of the way, period. Because, forest fires will liberate all those isotopes. Your ground is full of isotopes. Let's face it, this is what I do all day, every day. I listen to lectures, I research, I read, I go back right to the dates, I read the FOIAs. There's links below to that. There's links below to all the pictures. I analyze them. I'm still not through them. And because I have to analyze every picture, I'm looking for tidbits. I'm trying to, then I got to look up information about that building. I got to learn stuff about that. And so much of it just expands your mind that you get, you got to sit there and start typing so you don't forget what you're thinking. And there you are, you're off. Just to research little things can take so long, a couple of hours, just to find the actual, make sure it's actually true. Because you can't say it if it's not true. Right? You can't, I can't do what I'm doing. I don't need to fabricate. Hi, Blasted Hippie. How's it going, bud? I don't need to fabricate anything is the problem. I wish I could. I wish, it was that simple. But you heard the numbers, 5,000 nuclear plant workers, and let me bring up that picture, our screen capture. On May 22nd, 2011, there was 5,000 nuke plant workers suffering internal radiation exposure, right? And the PR firms are saying nobody got hurt by this. But I mean, there's the headline. Nearly 5,000 nuke plant workers suffering internal radiation exposure after visiting Fukushima. That was May 22nd, 2011. 5,000 people were suffering from, breathing that radiation. And you can't get it out of you. Well, you can get it out of you. You can make your body stronger. so that it doesn't do you in. It doesn't build up these big, thick tumors. And that's why I got the DCA link below. That's why you always hear me talking about the dandelion to get you on that path, like turmeric had 700 peer-reviewed academic studies. But there's so many other great, incredible stuff out there. But none of them are made by GMO. GMO has all the nutrients engineered out, and it doesn't allow you to uptake the nutrients, right? That's the problem with the GMO. And it's so hard to escape GMO when 85% of your store shelves and your corner shops are GMO. It's almost impossible to get away from it because it's used in your deodorants. It's used in your shampoos. It's used in your clothing. And so your baby food, your pet food, your diet supplements, your pharmaceuticals are mostly all GMO. And that doesn't allow you to uptake the nutrients or the minerals, right? Because of the formaldehydes and the glyphosates that are in it. And so what you got to do is you got to find a way around that. You really truly got to change everything about your life. That you got to learn to go out and pick berries, even though they're probably radiated. At least they got the nutrients in it. You can't escape the radiation that's coming at us right now. You can't escape it because they never told you about it, never warned you about it, never informed you about it, and a lot of you don't have any idea of how actually truly immersed in the radiation world you are, because you can't see it and you can't smell it, can't taste it, you can't hear it, you can't pick it up. And so it doesn't stand up to the normal fright and flight response. Like you're in your house, you're sleeping, you wake up and you smell smoke and you can see fire. Well, you run. Right? You might poke your head back in later to see what's burning in there, but your instant reflex is to get out of there. This one here, you have no concept. When your children were walking to school on May the 19th and May the 20th, there was a snowstorm of invisible radiation radiating the entire the northern hemisphere. And I got all the peer-reviewed academic studies on that now. And so does most people, I'm sure. But I got just so much of that now that even the Canadian government went out there with the planes and flown along the coastline. We got those numbers. We got those charts. We got those graphs. And the PR firms are out there saying, oh, it's all just like old background radiation of banana. But we got all the experts telling you there's at least 10 hot particles you ingested every day in North America in 2011 in May and April. That's, so if you got children, you can expect leukemias, serious cancers in the near future with that. And so we see that now. But also you can expect the Philippines type storms showing up because not much I can do about what happened in April and May of 2011. I can't change that. And I'm warning people, telling them how nutrition and DCA can help them survive that. But what I've seen in the Philippines, that's tangible to me, see? That's very tangible to me. And that's going to happen right around the Pacific coastline as this ocean fills up over the next year or two. It's going to be like totally radiated. That's going to spill over into the other oceans. And so we need, as a collective, this planet to get busy. Not only do we got to find a country to have these war crime trials in, so we can, whatever country we're going to have the war crime trials for the PR firms, we're going to make sure it's a country where they let us hang people. Because I want to see these friggers kicking. I really do. If we were in Iraq, we can just hang them from a crane. But we're not. And so maybe we should have the war crimes in Iraq so we can see them hanging from a crane. Think about how invigorating that could be. I'm not saying I like violence. I'm just saying some people deserve to hang. And PR firms and the lobbyists, they deserve to hang. Every bloody one of them. They shouldn't be on this planet. And these are evil creatures. They know what they're doing. They know the money is good, obviously, but they also know what they're doing is evil, and they feel like they can get away with it. But what happens if one of those Philippine storms strikes Canada or strikes, California or something next, and you get all kinds of dead celebrities and politicians? How are you going to hide it then? Then there's going to be pandemonium chaos. If we come out and look at it and say there's a big big meteorite coming at us, we wouldn't have the mass panic on the planet. Everybody would be too busy hoping that we can deal with it. And that's what we would be doing. We would actually deal with it because they couldn't hide away from it, see? And they would want to be able to be in control of the rallying that goes in behind that. But that's the crisis that we face, a much more scarier crisis than that. Because these typhoons that are turned into tornadoes that are 100 miles an hour, 100 mile wide, just at 200 miles an hour are ferocious. They're going to get much faster and much wider than that. There's no other outcome for this. That is the way that's going to play out. And the examples of it now are increased storms all over the world because it's not just the radiation you put down there, but it's all that radiation that's coming out every day. That's the issue. That's the problem. Is there's so much going into the ocean every day, and then the typhoons, because the whole country is covered in radiation, and every time it rains and snows, and you got that evaporation, you're liberating that a lot of those isotopes. It doesn't mean that you took it all out of there. You'll just create more isotopes on the ground there. Because it's just like a big machine. That's what the isotopes are like. They're like machines where they never stop. And I come over and say hi to people. Because I think I just went, obviously, how long have I been going for? 50 minutes or something? Yeah, so I'll come over and wind down and we'll say hi to everybody. We got 3DF. Hung, drawn, and quartered. Thanks, Daisy. Good stuff. Hi, Stormy Cloud. Mickey Smith. Russ. Philip. Lawson. Think we all need to eat mushrooms from Japan? Well, mushrooms is one of the first things radiation goes into. So you go ahead, but I don't recommend it. And see, Mickey got wild carrots. Lucky bugger. That's pretty cool. And you can grow a lot of stuff indoors. You can't get away from radiation. But you can make yourself healthy that you can deal with the cancer tumors themselves, right? And the DCA I got below reduces your tumors. And there's a lot of other things like turmeric. Once again, I still haven't finished that video. But you can look up my cancer videos on my site. Go and type in cancer. Look at the long ones. And you'll see the screen captures of the things that I'm recommending. Like pineapple cores is about, hundreds of times better than chemotherapy. And coconut oils. I can't even come up with them. I got a whole list of them there. I got them on my phone, actually. I got everything on my, believe it or not, on my phone. So when I'm sitting around with people, I can say it to them and read a bit. Hi, Sergeant York. Kurtzer K. Yeah, you guys were crippled by a big ice storm in Canada. I seen a lot of them growing up. Lots and lots of that. I used to have to go out and get on the boat every morning at 3 o'clock and take the axe and smack away at the boat and knock that ice off the boat. And then we would steam out the harbour and you every 20 minutes go up on the bow and you take your axe handle, you hit the bow and the ice would fall off the boat and the bow would rise up in the air. And you wouldn't go out in stormy weather because of the spray, obviously, right? But sometimes you get caught up in it. And so you're going around the boat all day long smacking stay wires and smacking lines to break the ice off it because top weight. And so I know where you're coming from. Hi, Junkyard Flyer. Yeah, that was a fun show tonight. Yeah, we need to hang PR firms just to make us all feel better. That would make us all feel better. I don't know about you. We may not be able to save the planet, but I sure as frig would feel a lot better if I seen a bunch of these creatures hanging from, legally, of course, from poles. Hi, Julie. We need fields of it like they used to be. Yeah, no kidding. Hi, Sylvia. And Kiri, thank you. I'm winding down, folks, so another minute or two. I say hi to Green Road Project. And the true believers have to take a bath in the spent fuel pools. Here I double emotion. Hi, New York Clubmaster. Hi, Tom. Yeah, if you grow your own mushrooms inside, mushrooms are good, yeah. Mickey says he missed it. Yeah, no worries. Hi, Sweet Jane. Ice storm hit you hard. Yeah, a lot of trees down. I seen the pictures, some fascinating pictures of the kids skating up the road on their skates. You catch those pictures yesterday? That was pretty crazy. Like 3 or 4 people skating. I done that a number of times. We used to skate across the harbour. It would freeze over. Miss Milky the Clown has decided she's going to take a bit of a break. And we all know that's not possible. But we'll let her live that fantasy as long as she can. Right? I hope she can. Dana Do, they were dope rope. DARPA robots will serve them, feed them, kiss their fat asses. Yeah, DARPA. And Miss Milky missed the first 15 minutes. Yeah, you're welcome, Miss Milky. Yeah, 108 watching. Wow, I never checked. That's pretty cool. That's a good. Zoe snoring again in the background. That's that's something I laugh about all the time. Is no matter what video I got up here, Zoe's in the background snoring. It'd be something weird to have a video without Zoe snoring there, because I can hear her a lot better than you guys probably can. Thank you, Elizabeth, Kurtza K, Tom, Mickey, Sweet Jane, Miss Milky again, of course, Philip Larson, Phil, time of drinking. Elizabeth says he's a Newfoundlander, distinctly Canadian. Yep, I'm pure Canadian, folks. I truly am Canadian. I'm not a Newfoundlander. I'm not a British Columbian. I'm Canadian in that sense. But my site had taught me something I already knew anyway, but reinforced for me that everybody had the same hopes and dreams for their loved ones, and that we all aspire to the simple things in lives. We're no different than anybody else on this planet, no matter what language or religion we really speak. We have the same kind of we want chairs, or we want a little table. We all want a couch and a stool to put our feet up on. We all, none of us need more than 2 kettles, right? None of us needs 2 coffee makers. None of us needs 2 fridges, conventionally anyway. Unless you're doing something particularly different in your life. None of us need 2 brooms. We're, as a society on this planet, we all have, we all think the same way. I really do believe that. I've seen it myself from musicians all around the world. And so that was, I always found that so interesting that so many people would say best wishes to you and your loved ones from totally different spots on the planet. That most of these people are very impoverished, but they talk the same way as, and so that, to me, that really, I always think about that. I always remember that, right? Even though I might not agree with certain religions, or I might not agree with certain cultures, I realized that I don't agree with certain little tiny fractions of that culture, but the rest of the culture I adore. I love everything about them, and I realized they're no different than me, that I could live and coexist with them any day of the week, and would be happy to, because I get it, right? We're all the same. And so that's why we have to do this. We have to push this out there, and to get the transparency necessary to come out and face it and deal with it, and get all the academic journals to produce peer-reviewed studies to try to solve most of the major issues, and then innovation to deal with the rest of it. That's the future. Because if we don't do that, we don't have a future. Period. It's either we do that, or there is no future for humanity. We will cease to exist as we kill each ocean and the species and the human experience. Everything else falls apart, and that's not what's supposed to be happening with us. That's not the utopia that we were all hoping for, and that a handful of people are denying us a better world by murdering us, and the PR firms are enabling them to do that to us by keeping this down all the time. So we'll catch you folks tomorrow night, Miss Milky. We'll see you with your next video in a few days when you get... I'm just making fun right now. And then if you we'll see you in a few days. Or tomorrow night, folks. Back again. Right up until New Year's, we'll take a day off, and then we'll be back at it again. So